Hello guys, how are you all? So this is the third video for your 5th unit Java programming. So here today we'll learn about the layout managers. So layout managers are used to frame the layout of the particular GUI that you are framing for a particular application, right? So layout managers are used to arrange components whatever are being required for a particular manner. Okay, so layout manager is an interface which will be implemented by all the classes of layout managers, right? So there are approximately 9 uh, layout manager classes, out of which according to your syllabus we will study out of which some I think some 4 or to 5. Okay, so first class is border layout, second class is flow layout, third one is grid layout, fourth one is card layout, and fifth one is grid bag layout, sixth one is box layout, seventh one is group layout, eighth one is a scroll pane layout, ninth one is spring layout. So among these we will study the first 5 according to the syllabus. So let us see about what is border layout. So border layout is used to arrange the components according to the 5 regions. For example, like north, south, east, west, and central part. So the each region or area may have only one component. Okay, so these will be arranged in the frame or a window, right? So according to the regions there are 5 constants. So you can see there on the screen the 5 constants: public static final int north, it is the first constant. In the same way south, east, west, and center. Okay, so there are approximately 2 constructors of the border layout class. So first one is the default border layout without any gaps, like a horizontal gap or a vertical gap. Second one is the constructor of the class J border layout with horizontal gap and vertical gap, whatever the user wants to keep it for between the components. Okay, so here is one of the example for border layout class. So you can see the output here. So north, south, west, east, and center borders are being laid there in the frame. So here is the code. So since the layout manager class is available within the AWT, so AWT has been imported, package has been imported, and in the frame for arranging the frame, swing package is required, so swing package also imported. So herein I'm creating a class called as a border. So next I'm creating implicitly I'm creating the object for JFrame with the f as a reference variable. So I'm using the constructor border. So within the constructor I created explicitly the JFrame object. So and I'm creating objects for each different regions, different uh, JButton objects. So every region with respect to B1 as a north, B2 as a south, B3 as a east, B4 as a west, and B5 as a center. So next I'm adding a frame, adding the particular each button within the frame using the add method. So you can see there f.add. So for a B1 I'm creating a border layout with the north as the region. For B2 south I'm going to add that within the frame using the f reference variable. Similarly all the 5 regions are been added. So using the set size method, um, giving the size for the axis, I'm giving the size of the frame, that is 300 by 300. So I'm making it to keep it as a visible using the true boolean value, so it will be visible for us. Next I'm closing the border constructor. So next within the main method I'm going to create the border object, right? So you can see after running this code you can get the output as this. Okay, so next we will see about the grid layout. So here the grid layout is used to arrange the components in a rectangular grid. So each grid will be having one component, that is in each rectangle there will be one component. So there are three constructors of the grid layout class. First one is to create a grid layout with one column per component in a row. Okay, so only one column will be there with each row. So next constructor is used to create a grid layout with a given number of rows and columns, but there will be no gap between the vertical or horizontal gaps. Third one is the constructor to create a grid layout with a given number of rows and columns, and along with the given number of given horizontal gap and a vertical gap. So most probably this is an example program where I'm expecting to get the output in this way. So most probably this grid layout is used for creating applications like calculators and something else like that, so wherein I'm going to get the value. Okay, so calculator buttons, you can observe it may be arranged in this form. So you might have used the inbuilt calculator of your system. Either it may be a Windows operating system, or it may be a what is it, Linux operating system. So you can observe that the buttons are arranged in the form of a grids. So here is the one of the program that will simulate in this way, same way, according to the button being arranged in the form of a grids. So here I'm importing both the packages AWT and Swing for my support of creating the frame as well as the buttons. So the class name is migrate layout. So here in same way as previous how I utilized the code, so I'm creating implicitly a JFrame object with f as a reference variable. I'm using the constructor to input all the logical code there in between. So in the constructor migrate layout, I am having JFrame object being called explicitly using the new operator, and um, so since I want buttons from 1 to 9, so I'm creating the objects of the buttons using the JButton class. So b1 for 1, b2 for 2, in the same way b9 for 9. So each of these buttons with the b1, b2, b3, b4, b5, b6, b7, b8 and b9 as a reference variable, I'm going to add them within the frame using that f reference variable. So you can see the next, that f dot add b1, so it will add a button within the frame. Okay, same way f dot add b9. Okay. So next is I'm going to get the layout. I'm going to set the layout with the number of grids that are required. So 3 by 3 matrix I'm using, so 9 buttons I can include within the grid. So 3 rows and 3 columns, so 3 within 3 rows and 3 columns, so the buttons will be fixed out. So size I'm going to choose as 300 by 300 as previous. So I'm going to make it as visible using the true as a boolean value. So next in the main method I'm going to call the class, right? So you can observe after running this code, you can observe the output in this manner, same manner, right? So next layout that we study is about the flow layout. So the flow layout is used to arrange the components in a line one after the another, so it may flow from one panel to another panel. So the fields used in the flow layout classes are in the way like a left, right, center, leading or trailing. Leading in the sense in the forward direction, trailing in the sense in the backward direction. So there are three constructors in the flow layout class. So here the default constructor is used to create a layout, the central alignment, and from the default 1 to 5 units of a horizontal and vertical gap. Flow layout, and second constructor is used to have an alignment whatever the user choices in, with the default 5 units of values with a horizontal and vertical gap. default gap. So third constructor is used for getting an alignment as well as getting an user defined horizontal gap and vertical gap between the components, right? So example of the flow layout you can observe. After executing the next particular code, whatever we discuss, we'll get the output in this way. So there are five buttons, 1 2 3 4 5 6, sorry, 1 2 3 4 5. So this output we'll get. So same way, same thing, we are going to get a five buttons. We are going to create a JFrame object using the f reference variable. I'm going to add them, f dot add b1 b2 b3 b4 b5. So I'm going to get us I'm going to set the layout. So layout I'm going to set by creating the object of flow layout. So flow layout I'm giving it as a right, so every time the flow of the control will be in the right side. Okay, it will be right alignment, right? The size of the frame I'm going to keep it as 300 by 300 as usual in the previous what we saw. So the visibility of the frame is true, it means it should be visible. If I keep it as false, it will not get visible. Okay, everything the frame is going to get hidden. So next I'm going to the main method. I'm going to create the object of the class my flow layer, right? So after running this code, you will get the output in the similar way. Okay, so since this box layout is not there for syllabus, maybe in future for some career options we may discuss, but right now we'll skip to the regular syllabus. So card layout, this is a card layout. It will manage the components in such a manner that only one component is visible at a one time. So it means what, if at all I want to display any of the card, so like card in the sense component will be created as a card. So if I want to display only one option, then I can use the card layout. Okay, so there are two constructors within the card layout class. So default constructor will help me to create a card layout uh, with a zero horizontal and vertical gap in between. So second constructor will help me to create a card layout with the given horizontal and vertical gap by the user. Okay, so there are some of the methods available for the card layout class. So next method is going to help me to flip to the next card. Previous method will help me to flip to the previous card. First method will help me to flip to the first card whatever it was being used. So last method will help me to flip to the last card whatever it is available. Show method will help me to flip to the card whichever has been specified to show. Okay, so this is an example. So for each card there will be an object been created. So now it is being displaying apple. So let us see the program. In that we will come to know which card I was getting flipped off actually. So here one extra class has been or a package has been imported, that is java.aw.event. So events, we can say that action listener class has been available in the package event. So action listener in java is a class that is responsible for handling all the action events in such a way that if any I'm going to click any button, it is going to get the addresses of some other component, so it might be displayed or it might be get connected. Okay, so most probably these action listeners are used with buttons. Okay, so action listener can be used by implements keyword. So it means what action listener is an interface, so with a particular class definition. So here you can see the same thing, the creating the class card layout example which is extending the JFrame and also implementing the action listener interface. Okay, so here the buttons that I'm going to create is b1 b2 b3. So card layout I'm going to create with a particular card. So container, I'm using container in the sense the container will consist of the components. Okay, so I'm going to implement all the logic within the constructor card layout example. Okay, so container, I'm going to get the content pan. The content pan in the sense I'm going to put all the cards within the pan. So whatever card layout will be of the size 40 by 30. Okay, 40 will be the horizontal space and 30 will be the vertical space. So everything will be there within the layout. So each button will be having different accessibilities, like apple for p1, boy for p2, cat for c3. So I'm assigning the action listener for the same thing, that is using this keyword. So this keyword, in the sense whatever it has been defaultly assigned within the same class, that will be actually activated. So for a, I'm using the add method to add the what is that, a particular button within the container C, using the C reference variable. You can see C reference variable is for the default container. You can see that. Okay, so I'm going to add all the details. So A is been pressed means it will display the card as apple. If B is been clicked means it will display the boy as a card. So C is been clicked means it will display cat as a card. Okay, so each events will be recorded and action will be performed. So next is I'm going to use the method action performed. So in this action performed, using the argument of e as a reference variable of the class type of object action event. So here in this I'm using the next card as C. So first, once the card is been clicked, the next card whatever is going to be flipped is the C. So in the main method I'm going to create the object of the class. So I'm going to set the size as of the layout as 400 by 400, which has been set as visible. So once the things are been done, if I want to close the content, so that is the container, so I will use the method set default close operation. So it will be exit on close. Exit on close in the sense, if I click the button at the rightmost upper side button, like what you can observe here, this one, wherein I'm just now pointing that if I click it, it will close, right? So once we run this code, we will get the output in this way. So since here A is being clicked, so it will showing the card apple. Okay, if I click B, so it will show the card as what is been assigned boy. So if C is been clicked, it will display the card as cat, right? So next is the grid bag layout. So grid bag layout class is used to align the components along with the baseline, either it will be vertically or horizontally. uh, so the components may not give the same size. So if at all I'm going to take the grid of button 1, it may be of different size, button 2 will be of different size, button 5, 4, 3 may be of different sizes. Okay, so these can be maintained dynamic, so everything will be in the form of a rectangular grid of cells. So these will occupy each component with one or more cells, whatever that we are going to display within the area. So with the help of constraints, so these we can utilize or associate. These can be, so the each component can be associated with an instance of the constraints, that is a grid back constraints. There's a class grid back constraints. So using those constraints we can arrange the components whatever we want to display within the grid. Okay, so these are some fields available here, the fields like column weights, compatibility, the constraints being available, the layout information, maximum grid size, minimum size, preferred size, row height, row weight. So you can find out everything, the description within the Java T-Point website. So you can please refer that later on, since I don't want to discuss everything. So since the name indicates what the method is going to execute or what the field is going to execute, so there are some 14 methods available. So they are where, or they are add layout component, whatever component you want to add. So the gravity in the sense to adjust the grid within the x-axis and y-axis. Okay, depending upon what geometry or paths you are going to provide. So we can have the method called as arrange grid, that will lays the output of the grid. So get the constraints details, get the layout alignment with x-axis, get the layout alignment with y-axis. set dimensions, layout information to get the layout information, then origin, weights, minimum size, maximum size, right? Mm. So here is an example for a grid uh, so grid back layout. So just importing the particular packages for a class to make my code work perfectly. So here I'm extending to the JFrame so that I want to use the frame. So within the main method I'm going to just call the class grid bag layout example. So here in the constructor I'm going to write the logic. So grid bag layout, I'm going to create the object with the grid as the reference variable. Here you can observe it. So gbc I'm using the reference variable for the object grid bag constraints. So for the constraints I'm using gbc, for the grid layout I'm using grid. So I'm going to make the layout to set. So next line I'm using the method set layout. So grid reference variable is been passed there. So title I'm going to keep it as a grid bag layout example. So at the upper left corner of the window you can see the particular name for the frame. Okay, right. I'm creating the object of the class grid bag layout. So with the layout as an reference variable. So right, I'm passing that particular layout reference variable to set the layout with using this keyword, that is what. Okay. So here I'm getting the constraints in the horizontal way. So I'm assigning the x-axis and y-axis as 0 0. So you can observe that gbc is the reference variable for the grid back constraints object. So I'm making the grid x and grid y as 0 0. So next for this place I'm adding the button as button 1. So next I'm making the x as 1, y as 0. So here it will be added a button 2. Next x will be 0, y will be 1, so it will be button 3 will be added. So 1 1 will be assigned. So here button 4 will be there, and 0 2. Here I'm going to add a button 5. Okay, and width of the button will be, for a button 5 will be 2. So the frame size will be set as 300 by 300. So preferred size is whatever the size it's going to get it. So visibility will be set as true. So once the components are been added, if after the display, if I want to close it, I can use the operation default close operation, which is exit on close. So this is the default output what we are going to get. So as I said, in grid back layout title will be observed. So button 1, button 2, button 3, button 4, button 5. So based on the type of the button I can arrange it by giving a different size. So that's all for your layout manager. So in the next class we are going to see about some more components with the applet, right? Okay, bye bye, take care, stay in home, don't go outside, be safe.